Всем снова привет. Это опять новая серия. Прошлая серия закончилась так резко, потому что у меня вылетело.
Good one, Mr. Holmes. A gentleman by the name of Peter Carey, also known as Black Peter, has been murdered.
A sailor, most probably.
What happened here?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, how could you?
It's the only exercise I've had all week. A grateful client from Limoges sent me a vase collection this morning. I couldn't think of a better use for it.
You're out of your mind.
I missed 4 out of 10.
Given you were blindfolded, that was very good. Can I have a try?
Am I the only sane one here?
I suppose that Watson is right, Inspector. A little brain work would be preferable now. Do please tell us more about Black Peter.
Peter Carey, born in 1845 and 50 years old. An ambitious sort, he achieved much success in seal and whale hunting around Scandinavia. Retired in 1884 with a small fortune. He invested his money in a property called Woodman's Lee, near Forest Row in Sussex. It was where he lived for 6 years, and where he was found dead yesterday.
Has the investigation already begun?
Yes and no. In fact, this crime is so mysterious that I would prefer you to join me down there.
Give me half an hour to prepare, Inspector.
Take your time and join me there. I have to go through the yard first. The merry men struck again.
What have they done this time?
They robbed a powder reserve. I'll meet you at Woodman's Lee, Mr. Holmes.
I should help Mrs. Hudson here. I also have several appointments that I must keep this afternoon.
I shall go alone, then.
Так, вот и игра начинается.
I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here.
Питер Керри, также известный как Черный Питер, в 1941 году 50 лет, добился научных успехов в охоте на китов. В Скандинавии вышел на пенсию в 1880 году и усел в Woodman's Lee. Первый умник Питера Керри, прежде всего спасает Woodman's Lee. Говорит свой новый народ, также всем присоединительностью веселым выносом. Я имею большую удовольствие на всех уровнях сюда, всего больше на черного Питера.
I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here.
Почему он не хочет уходить?
My archive. This is where I keep my post. My archive. I can always consult with it if needed. I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here.
Ой-ой-ой.
You go along to Peter Carey's house. Mrs. Hudson and I will take care of the mess you've made here.
Okay.
I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here.
What a mess! What a terrible mess!
Строчек нам мешается. О, печатная машина. Так, кровать. Трубочка. Куда он лечится? Ну сама открывается. Так, не забудем. О, есть.
I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here.
Что он еще не сделал?
My analysis table. It is useful for my work.
Что еще тут?
My archive. I can always consult with it if needed.
Это диалог. Это мы уже увидели. Печеньки.
I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here. My analysis table. It is useful for my work.
Интересно, почему... Опять посмотрим. Жестко туплю. Я уже больше здесь пусто. Обязательно что-то будет. Во, еще одна комната. Во. Вот. Мне нравится такое. Не знаю, что еще. Нет. Мне вот это вот больше нравится. Что не сменился? Ну ладно. Чёрка Холмс. есть. Нет. Сундук, чего не против.
My analysis table. It is useful for my work.
Что тут нужно? Теперь я могу выйти? Да. Подвал.
Mr. Holmes, I'm over here. Come on.
Что у нас тут? Опа.
Mr. Holmes?
Немножечко похож на Детройт. Опа. Что-то нашли.
Inspector Lestrade, when will you remove my husband's body? It's sacrilegious to leave him here like this.
As soon as we can, Mrs. Carey, I assure you. Allow me to introduce you to Mr. Sherlock Holmes. He's a detective. No doubt you've heard of him. I'll wait for you in front of the cabin, Mr. Holmes.
My condolences, Mrs. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Еще как можно. Так, мы все нашли. Все мы нашли.
Thank you, madam. Mr. Holmes? Mr. Holmes?
Ясно.
It seems that the garden was well maintained.
Спасибо за самый приятный ухаживание. Здесь работает умелый садовник. Угу. Ничего умного, то вы обязательно позже прочитаете. Уже два персонажа есть.
Peter Carey's body is inside the cabin. We took care not to touch anything.
Что еще? Опять нет.
Mr. Holmes?
Что?
It seems that the garden was well
тоже самое.
maintained.
О, хоть бежать умеет. Уже.
Peter Carey's body is inside the cabin.
Mr. Holmes?
Все, пускаем в дверь.
The door is locked.
Wait just a moment, Mr. Holmes, and I'll open it. I locked it yesterday to ensure that no one should enter the cabin and tamper with the evidence.
Ah, good thinking.
Hello, hello, hello.
What is it, Lestrade?
It seems to me that someone has tried to force it, Mr. Holmes.
Let me see.
А, посмотри. Нету. Вот,
These
царапина.
scratches are fresh. You're right. Someone tried to force open the door.
I swear these scratches were not here yesterday.
Now, a mysterious visitor came here last night.
Well, he's not the man for the job. This lock is not a difficult one.
Perhaps he did not have the right tool.
Откроем. Опа.
What a terrible way to die.
Ё-моё.
Peter Carey was fully dressed. He was not caught by surprise. It is possible that he knew his murderer. This man is in his 50s, yet he still looks quite strong. Peter Carey was fully dressed. He was not caught by surprise. It is possible that he knew his murderer. Peter Carey was impaled to the wall by a whaling harpoon.
Опа.
This blood is from the pool underneath the dead body. This wooden handle is plain and solid. Peter Carey tried to defend himself with this knife, but he did not succeed.
Блокнот есть.
JHN are probably the initials of the owner of this notebook. The pattern of the blood stain indicates that the notebook was not lying on the floor prior to the crime, but it was dropped into the pool of blood after the death of Peter Carey.
Это мы поняли.
The weapon fully penetrated the body. The force of the blow was immense.
Жулик приехал издалека, из местности, полосами сосновых лесов, и место, издалека, шла для него за охотой. Сами сами мы слышали полностью историю самого демку хвост. Опа. Что здесь есть? Сынок. В принципе, все.
Someone drank from this glass recently. The initials PC have been crudely burned. A sailor's work. This aroma is familiar, but to recognize it, I must construct my associations in one picture.
Awesome.
Yes, this is a coarse tobacco, quite strong and very popular among sailors. Rum, a sailor's drink. It seemed that Captain Carey was enjoying a drink before he met his death.
Еще же не все смотрено. Не все.
The Sea Unicorn. She was the ship that Peter Carey commanded.
Опа, деревянный сундук. Смотри. Б.
Peter Carey's boots. They look to be a size 8. Old navigation instruments, nothing interesting. The ship's logs of the Sea Unicorn for the years 1878 to 1884. Peter Carey was her captain. The ship's logs of the Sea Unicorn for the years 1878 to 1884. Peter Carey was her captain. The tooth of a sperm whale, probably from one of Peter Carey's catches.
Карта.
Dundee. Hammerfest. It's a whaling map.
Здесь, кажется, все.
Have you finished inspecting the crime scene?
Sure, Sherlock. See.
Do you remember at what time you found your husband's body?
In the morning, at around 7 o'clock, I noticed the cabin door was open, but I didn't go in to take a look, for I knew my husband would not have liked it. At around 10 o'clock, I dared to glance in through the door and... oh dear.
Is this your husband's tobacco pouch?
I'm not sure. It might be, but he hadn't smoked in a very long time.
Was your husband accustomed to receiving visitors?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I mean, he didn't really have many friends. We lived quite an isolated life here, after his retirement.
Madam, can you tell me if you saw or heard anything unusual upon the night of the murder?
At 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard a terrible scream, but I thought nothing of it then. He would scream all the time when he was drunk.
Can you please tell me what occurred on the evening of the murder?
Well, Peter got drunk in the evening. He was in such a terrible temper. Usually whenever that happened, he'd stay all night drinking in his cabin before passing out.
The garden is very large and well maintained. Do you employ someone to look after it?
It is true, there is a lot of work, but my husband took care of it himself.
You have indeed suffered a great loss, Mrs. Carey. Nevertheless, I believe it will be less of a burden for you soon.
Yes, life with Peter was never easy, but he was still my husband.
He was different, wasn't he, when you first met him upon your return from Plymouth?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Oh, my goodness, but how do you know about that?
Never mind. Thank you, madam.
Mr. Holmes?
Have you finished inspecting the crime scene?
No, it's not that. Давайте не видно. Вещи. Через это. Все, войти не могу. Жалко. Что-то есть.
Mr. Holmes?
The ship's logs of the Sea Unicorn for the years 1878 to 1884. Peter Carey was her captain. An object was taken from here. It was larger than a book. A box or a small chest, perhaps.
Нашли.
Mr. Holmes?
Have you finished inspecting the crime scene?
Вернуться.
Your husband's private papers. Do you know where they are?
There was a small tin box, barely larger than a book. He kept his papers there. It should be somewhere in his cabin.
Thank you, madam.
Mr. Holmes?
Такси говорит.
The murder weapon was probably taken from this rack.
Еще сейчас мы это заметили.
The Sea Unicorn. She was the ship that Peter Carey commanded.
Еще раз смотрим. Прямо на первой минуте игры уже такая загадка. Опа. Опа. Следуем.
These boots don't match the footprints. These footprints appear to be quite large.
Довольно большие. Требуется улик.
Thank you, madam.
Shadow.
These footprints appear to be quite...
Опа. Опа. Во. Отвечаю, не хочешь, кто был снять.
Mr. Holmes?
Понял. Отсюда.
I cannot leave yet. I am not finished here.
Ничего здесь нет. Где же эта шкатулочка?
Have you finished inspecting the crime scene?
Кто-то следует. Полететь. Какая-то чего не тележка? Опять следует.
These footprints appear to be quite large.
Лодка. Опа. Ящичек. Что-то. Ящичек.
You have indeed suffered a great loss, Mrs. Carey. Nevertheless, I believe it will be less of a burden for you soon.
Yes. Life with Peter was never easy, but he was still my husband.
He was different, wasn't he, when you first met him upon your return from Plymouth?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Oh, my goodness, but how do you know about that?
Never mind. Thank you, madam.
Ладно. На этом мы приостановимся. Всем пока. Спасибо за просмотр.